Giannis has won a finals, and he was a beast in that finals. Let's not forget, every other season except that one finals, the question has been, I mean, it wasn't after he won it, right? That reset everything. But until then, the question was, hey, they wall off against Giannis. Can he shoot it well enough? Can he get a team over the top? Blah, blah, blah. Then he won the championship. But, Jay, he won the championship. Giannis might be my favorite player. Might be the most likable superstar in sports, period, anywhere in the world. But he won the championship because the Nets were hurt. They were never going to beat the Nets at full strength. That's what we're killing them. Just with KD and Kyrie. Even as it was, just with KD, they got to a seventh game in overtime. KD's foot on the line is the reason they even won. So they never really quite put enough around him. They got a little lucky when they won that championship. Jay, you've been talking about it. Given the improvement of teams in the East, what do they got to do to keep them?
It's the entire league. It's just not the Eastern Conference. Like, first off, with the Eastern Conference, you're looking at Boston. You're saying Boston is one of our rivals, right? Like, if we're in this race for best player in the world, and we're saying that's moving between Giannis, Steph, and Nikola Jokic, I'm watching the entire league. So I'm saying, hey, Jason Tatum is knocking on the door. Jaylen Brown is knocking on the door. They just added Kristaps Porzingis. We're sitting over here saying, what moves is Philadelphia going to make? Are they bringing back James Harden? Are they going to let James Harden walk? Fred VanVleet is out there. He's played with the likes of Nick Nurse before. They understand how things operate. Are they going to put the ball in the hands of Tyrese Maxey? What moves are they going to make? Hey, what's going on? What the hell is going on in Phoenix? They just added Bradley Beal with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. What moves are they making? Hey, Golden State, they brought in CP3 with are they going to bring back Draymond Green? Obviously they are. Jordan Poole is no longer there. We got guys out there like Kyle Kuzma. If you're Giannis saying, wait, I was back-to-back MVP. I won NBA Finals MVP. I'm a world champion. I have my contract extension coming up.
I got my Disney movie made. Who else does?
I got a lot of stuff popping off right now. Like, how are the Milwaukee Bucks, who we just lost one of our majority owners, and Mark Lazar, who had a tight relationship with Wes Edens, now has control of the franchise moving forward, along with Jim Haslam, who owns the Cleveland Browns as well. Like, what are we doing with Brook Lopez? Like, if we lose Brook Lopez to Golden State or to another team that pays him more money, I'm looking at Chris Middleton saying, I like you, Chris Middleton, a lot. Like, you opted out of your deal. Like,
been hurt a lot.
You've been hurt a lot over the last 2 years. Like, who are you surrounding me with? Kyle Kuzma? Like, what moves are we making now to keep me in the hunt?
Jay? Well, it's funny, as you were saying that, I'll get to it seems to me the pattern is you win you're a big who wins the MVP twice in the regular season. Then they don't give it to you in year 3, and that's the year you win the championship, the finals MVP. That happened to Giannis, then it happened to Jokic. I guess Embiid this upcoming year wins an MVP, and then the following year wins a championship. If the pattern holds, then maybe Tatum, he's not a big, but is this finally the time where the Knicks fans, who always think they're going to get the star and never do, they always wind up with the consolation prize? You're going to get Chris Childs, not Tim Hardaway. You're going to get Larry Johnson, not Charles Barkley. Even Allen Houston, but not Reggie Miller, right? You're going to get a great player like Jalen Brunson. Boy, but you didn't get the superstars. It turns out maybe he's a superstar almost. You got him. He was undervalued. Is this finally the time where Knicks fans can look at another team's superstar and say, we got a real shot to get him?
You're watching every single move. I tell you who else is watching every single move. Miami's watching every single move. Ooh. You don't think Pat Riley down in Miami would love to have Giannis?
Oh my God!
And build
Giannis
off what
Pat
Giannis
Riley
brings to that. I'll tell you another team that nobody even talks about. Granted,
don't let Pat Riley get and Spoelstra get their hands on Giannis.
I mean, I think the likeliness of this team probably not so much knowing how competitive Giannis is to do something on his own, but like he's flirted around with Golden State. Clay, I mean. You tell me what the situation, if Clay potentially comes off the books, you got CP3 coming off the books next year. I really do think this is one of those years, though, for Giannis where it's what are you doing to help me stay at the top of the Eastern Conference? And every Milwaukee Buck fan knows this. Like, you have one of the best players in the world. You have to optimize and monetize that now. What pieces are you surrounding him with now?
I know how he feels, and, I've seen the video that he doesn't like, LA is so expensive and everything. When you talk about who you'd want to hand the keys to the Lakers to, really, of all the stars out there, he's not as...
I don't see that at all.
Listen, he's not as... he has a quality to him. I'm going to use a name. He says, it's not Magic Johnson, in the sense that when Giannis walks into a room, he makes people happy, right? People are happy to be watching him, and he's a championship caliber, player. I know LA might be a lot for him, but New York might be a lot for him too.
Yeah, I don't see, but I don't see LA at all.
That's what everyone says about him. I don't know why.
Because he's... the thing about that is, granted, New York feels like there's more of how the immigrant story for him, and how that feeling here is in New York. It seems more like that. The glitz and the fame of that doesn't feel like that's him.
I see.
To me.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do. I do.
Now look, he may end up staying in Milwaukee if John Horst and company surround him with the right pieces.
He wouldn't be the first guy drafted to Milwaukee who wound up in L.A., but of course, Kareem went to school in L.A. The whole thing is a little different.
I still see Milwaukee being a viable option as long as they continue to maximize the talent around him. But this whole status quo and staying stagnant, that can't be the answer moving forward. You can't just allow that. I'm in my prime. I need to win. I'm watching these dudes put together contenders. Phoenix is now a legit contender. Golden State is a contender. What are we doing?
Do you think, in other words, is it a healthy version of Middleton, some player like that they're missing? What are you looking for if you're Giannis? What piece are you looking at? Let's say they keep Lopez, a 7-footer who can protect the rim and shoot. By the way, he's no spring chicken. Eventually, you're going to have to replace him. But Drew Holiday's not going to retire, and really the issue is Middleton is not available most of the time, and he may be the guy you have to replace. Who are you replacing? Is that what it is? You got to replace Middleton with someone? When you say you got to see something, what is it he has to see?
Middleton obviously being hurt. I think that hindered them. He didn't seem like he came back all the way the same. Now, having multiple injuries, I think what you decide to sign him for is a pretty big thing, because he that's your number 2. But where is he in the process of his game and health-wise? It's a really big thing that you have to figure out. You're making that bet.
But let's say
for the next 2 or 3 years of Giannis's career.
Wait, but when you say right, of course. But when you say if I'm Giannis, I need to see something. Everyone's getting better. Is it that the structure of the team and what we do, it got us a championship. That's good enough. We just need to replace some pieces with new pieces, or is there some other kind of direction you think that the team should go in? So, were you looking for a Middleton replacement or something else?
I'm looking for an upgrade everywhere.
Well, Drew Holiday, you got
Drew
that.
Holiday's great.
And you like Brook Lopez there. So we got 3 of the starting 5.
I would like to have an upgrade, version of Chris Middleton that is healthy.
A couple of...
I need a dynamic number 2 in the Eastern Conference. We're still going to be right there. They're still right there. But having a dynamic number 2.
Had Bradley Beal been a guy or something like that? Right, someone like that.
Kyle Kuzma potentially could be a guy.
You think Kyle Kuzma?
I think Kyle Kuzma is a really good player. Now, he's not the same defender as Chris Middleton. But, once again, what Chris Middleton version are we talking about here? Guy coming off injuries,
We're talking about Chris Middleton, 20 points and defends the wing.
The Chris Middleton used to be the 50, 40, 90 Chris Middleton. There was, in his prime, he was putting up big numbers.
An efficient
I'm not sure we have that same Chris Middleton now.
An efficient scorer and a long defender for the position.
I'm not saying Kyle Kuzma's it, but Kyle Kuzma ain't no slouch.
You mentioned Zach LaVine for the Heat. What do you think of Zach LaVine?
Zach LaVine's another one too. I'm scouring the market.
You're Mike T all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Mike Tannenbaum.
Yes, you're John Horst. You have to be.
Free agency tomorrow, 6 p.m. It sets off. Kyrie Irving gets ready for it. How many realistic landing spots does he have? Ramona Shelburne, ESPN senior writer. Listen. Ramona?
Well, how do you get a max contract? You create leverage. And from what I'm told with sources close to this situation, he intends to take meetings when free agency opens. Widely held expectations that he returns to Dallas. But what that contract looks like and what happens with these meetings that he intends to take when free agency opens is going to be very interesting. Now, what's important to Kyrie Irving? From what I'm told, he wants to find a place where he can spend the rest of his career, a place that feels like home. And that's an interesting thing for a guy like Kyrie who's approaching a free agency where it's not really a lock for him to get that 5-year max that the Dallas Mavericks are in position to give him.
The rest of his career, do you sign in Dallas if you're Kyrie? Jay? If it's me, do you sign in Dallas? Do you really believe you're going to win a championship there with you and Luka taking up most of the money and in certain respects being redundant, right? It's possible. But I don't know if that gives you a great chance. I know people have said the Lakers have moved on. Is that one of the teams he'd want to take a meeting with?
But you have salary cap restrictions, man. You have the second apron. So people when people say, does that give you the best chance? One of the things that happens over this span is that you have so many people that throw people on certain teams, and it just doesn't work that way. You see a lot of teams that are trying to stay under the cap. You have a lot of teams that if you use the mid-level exemption, that takes you to a hard cap, and that restricts you in a lot of different ways. So that's why you see a team like Golden State say, hey, on this one-year deal, it makes sense for us to have a CP3 because we have to get under the cap and get Jordan Poole off our books. So when you say, well, one player in Kyrie Irving with Luka takes up a lot of your money, that's same thing with LeBron and AD. It's the same thing with a lot of players.
LeBron is at an age where he's going to come off the books before too long. And you're going to want a dynamic team going forward. The way I think of it is when I see the Lakers want to re-sign D'Angelo Russell, and D'Angelo gets some absurd amount of money. Now, what is it? It's like 30 or something like that. So it's going to get cut in half. But I started thinking, do I want D'Angelo Russell on the team? No. Because in the playoffs, if you are unplayable on both ends of the floor, you got to go. In L.A., you got to go. So if you don't want D'Angelo Russell, now you start to think about Austin Reeves getting maybe $25 million a year for 4 years. And I like Austin Reeves a lot. But if you're asking me who's better, Austin Reeves or Kyrie Irving, there's no comparison. And I know Reeves can also defend, and Kyrie doesn't always.
So also, what you have to give up for that, though, Max, it's just not like Austin Reeves for Kyrie Irving.
No. But I said D'Angelo. So if you don't want D'Angelo Russell, if you consider that a zero anyway, and they might bring him back, and Austin Reeves, you're like, all right, I'd rather have Kyrie than Austin Reeves. If it means taking those two guys away and getting Kyrie in there somehow, I don't know how you say no to that.
Well, if I'm the Lakers, I'm not going after Kyrie Irving. I'm looking at Bruce Brown. I really my team is right there. And I know people were infatuated with making these big threes. Yo, the Lakers are right there.
But yes,
and
but
Bruce
something has
Brown
to go wrong for Denver. They're right there, and if Denver comes in, they're not at full strength. Jamal Murray misses a couple games, yes, but they're not beating that Denver team as currently constructed with another nice perimeter piece, a 3-and-D guy.
Look, I don't know, Max. You put Bruce Brown on the Lakers, and now Bruce Brown guarding the likes of Jamal Murray,
and you take him away. You take him away,
and add him away.
Yeah. You're weakening them, and
I'm putting my best
yourself.
defender on your top flight perimeter player offensively. Now, nobody's really stopping Jokic, but at least you have the sides. I'll take AD. I think AD has actually one of the best shots in the NBA to actually hinder Jokic more so than anybody.
So then your team is LeBron, Reeves, Brown, Hachimura, and AD?
Yeah, and then you're trying to fill out the margins.
Yeah, you shoot it just well enough.
Guys like Javon Carter, guys like
defend.
Shooters.
Yeah.
You're not far off, man.
That's true.
I'll give up my depth and just put Kyrie Irving. I'm like, I don't know about that.
What I'm saying is you're not actually giving up depth because.
But you are.
But do you want D'Angelo Russell on the team?
I would personally move D'Angelo Russell, right? I'm keeping Austin Reeves. I'm not giving up Austin Reeves.
I would like to keep Austin Reeves, too. If I told you could trade Austin,
the dirty work.
If I told you could trade Austin Reeves for Kyrie straight up, would you do it?
But that's not a realistic world.
I get it, but would you do it?
But it's not a realistic world. It's
a hypothetical I'm asking you.
But okay.
Okay, so if you're going to get rid of D'Angelo Russell anyway.
But I just don't know about that, though.
What's that?
Because I really like the way Austin Reeves defends.
I know.
He defends.
Take Hachimura before you take
like
Reeves.
He gives you an energy, a level. I mean, granted, the high side of Kyrie is way different. I'm not saying the players compare, but like for the need that I feel like LA needs, Austin Reeves might serve that need more for me than Kyrie would.
He's a two-way player, and he's an actual scorer because he has counters and everything. He's not just like he can shoot. He can actually play.
What's the latest you're hearing just on free agency, obviously starting tomorrow? A lot of movement, a lot of pieces. What's the latest?
Jay, here's the thing about this free agency. Almost every player doesn't have a market. What I mean by that is very few players have multiple bidders. Like James Harden, maybe Houston,
Maybe.
Kyrie Irving.
We were just talking about that. I don't know.
Like yesterday, the Bulls did a deal with Nikola Vucevic, 3 years and $60 million, all guaranteed. Vucevic is a good player, averaged 18 and 12 or something like that.
He's a problem on defense, though.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Why? Who's offering him that? The teams that have salary cap space, Detroit, Orlando, San Antonio, Indiana, these teams aren't really in the market for they're not bidding for James Harden. You know, like Utah uses cap space on John Collins. Oklahoma City uses cap space on Davis Bertans on draft night. We don't have a marriage of players getting multiple offers. Like the guys who are going to get multiple offers are guys like Cam Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Like it's not like it's been in years past where a star has had 3 choices where he can go and it's really interesting. The guy that is tremendously fascinating is Dame. And he on Monday elected really not to enter the fray this week. You know, he when it went into that meeting, the whole league was like, okay, is this where it happens? And then no trade request. So honestly, like D'Angelo Russell and the Lakers, like it's not that D'Angelo Russell isn't a good player. It's not that he can't be productive. Who's bidding? Like he's not going to Orlando. You know, Indiana is not getting into a fight with the Lakers over him. Part of it is the teams that have the space aren't being super aggressive, and we'll get surprised by what the Spurs will do something that'll surprise us, but it's not the environment is not set up for bidding wars.
Is this because the second apron, the new CBA, is forcing teams to more? I know the environment has changed, but properly value commodities, like they have to price them more precisely or they get burnt?
Yeah, so your third player is now really important with your salary. If you're a competitive team that's competing for the title, you obviously probably have 2 star players. Your third player is now like a vitally important contract. So let me give you an example. The Nuggets. They got Jokic, they got Murray. They got Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter. And that Michael Porter contract, but
it kills them.
Great for them.
They're so good they were able to withstand the Michael Porter contract in spite of the fact that for now.
So that's what I'm saying. These teams are just being really cautious. So again, Nikola Vucevic, good player. Who's paying him like a third star? Nobody, really.
So what's the number for a third star now?
I was going to say, Wendy, for a guy like Zach LaVine, who obviously you heard talk around New York and they kind of combated that. Like if you're a team like Miami, if you're sitting there, you're waiting for Dame, you're a little bit unsure whether Dame is actually going to do this or not. Could you see Miami make a move for a guy like a Zach LaVine, or you think Chicago will be asking way too much?
That's a different, because Zach, people are not sure about his health, because the need, he was awesome, and then he had another knee into surgery, and he hasn't quite been as awesome. So I think he's got this huge contract, and his knee, he hasn't quite been the same. Then maybe he'll come back this year when he's fully a year off that surgery. But that's the thing. Like I just think you're seeing teams be more cautious, and I think the recipe for action isn't really there. To me, the fascinating things about this offseason, other than Lillard, is the contract extensions for the guys who have a year or 2 left on their deal. Anthony Davis. Are the Lakers extending him? 3 years, 167. Kawhi Leonard. Paul George. Then you got guys who have 2 years left on their contract. Giannis. Donovan Mitchell. I don't expect those guys to extend, but I expect their teams to offer it to them.
What moves does Milwaukee need to make to stay at the top of the Eastern Conference, Wendy. Like, it's like they can't remain stagnant anymore.
Milwaukee's getting hit by both sides because they are now a repeater tax team.
Yep.
It's hard to be good for 5-6 years. Especially
this is what I want to know. What is the number you're looking for? Fans are looking for that so let's say you have 2 max contracts, right? What's the
You didn't let him finish the Milwaukee
what's the I need to know this. I've been trying to get it for like 3 minutes.
I know.
What's the number? What's the number that you're looking for?
So the second apron, which
Yes.
basically acts like a hard cap,
Yes.
is like at $178 million or something like that for
Right.
your whole salary.
Right.
So if your star player, like right now, $50 million is the top end.
Yes.
$50 million for your big star.
Giannis. Okay, good. Yeah.
But like if you're the Boston Celtics, okay, now think about this. The Boston Celtics are going to extend Jaylen Brown.
Right.
That's going to be $55 million a year. They're going to extend Jason Tatum. That's going to be $55 million a year. So in 2 years, that's going to be $110 million.
Out of 178.
They didn't trade Porzingis. They didn't trade for Porzingis for it to be a one-off. They're going to try to extend him this summer. He makes $36 million. Okay, that's your third. And now we're talking about our third player, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you give him? Okay, let's just say he gets the same salary, just for the sake of our argument. All right, between those 3 guys, in a couple of years, you're looking at potentially $140, $150 million.
You got $28 million to fill out your roster.
Well, I mean, it'll be a little bit more than that because the cap will go up. But that's what I'm saying. Your third number is really important if you've got 2 other good players.
Okay, so now back to so like that's I'm trying to figure out what are we looking at?
Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Giannis is headed for $50 million a year. Chris Middleton opted out. Now, what they signed Chris Middleton to is really important. You got to keep him, right? But then you also have Brook Lopez. So and they're in the repeater tax. It's like every $1 million that the Bucks spend, it's like $8 million in tax. Like last night, the Clippers decided to release Eric Gordon. Okay, he's a 6th man, a guy you'd like to have on your roster. By releasing him, they saved $110 million in tax. $110 million. Okay?
It's a de facto cap. It's like
That's what I'm saying.
It hardens the cap so much.
It's like if you're competing for a championship, like you're spending, like you're operating at a loss, a massive loss.
They're getting these teams are getting squeezed from both ends. Repeater tax on one side. This is what the situation with the Warriors is. This is why the Warriors had to trade Jordan Poole, because they just can't afford. This is what the league wants. The league wants talent dispersal, and so that's all of that is contributing to why we're not seeing a super team construction. I mean, you could argue that the Suns are doing that, but they were already.
When you give someone a super duper max contract, they better deserve it. Like Jaylen Brown is almost going to be like a test case. Is he going to be worth that money? Right? Like that. Here's a great test case. They go to the conference finals every year of their careers, basically. You want to keep them together, but damn.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.